Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Elliot. Nice to finally meet you. I post both solved and unsolved cases. If this might interest you, well, you've come into the right place. Greetings aside, let's jump into this deep dive. This is the mysterious and unexplainable disappearance of Ciera Breland. Almost 4 devastating years have passed since the fateful February the 24th, 2022, when 31-year-old Ciera Breland vanished into thin air without a trace, and while investigators disclosed it remains an ongoing investigation, there are no active leads to follow. As always, let's begin this episode by introducing the protagonist of this case file. I like to say from the very start there are some conflicting reports online about information on this case. Ciera Nicole Locklear was born on January 10th, 1991 to Nick and Kelly Locklear in Georgia. Her parents described Ciera's upbringing and whereabouts to Deadline. First of all, she had a dream, moving to Atlanta one day. Since a young age, she has always been a fighter, pushing forward to achieve her goals in life, never giving up. Her mom Kelly worked as a paralegal, according to online reports, and Ciera wanted to follow her mom's steps by becoming a lawyer. And she actually did it. Kelly Locklear, again, would describe her daughter as happy, energetic, and loving, extremely driven in her career. After graduating high school, Ciera moved to Tennessee, where she attended a local university, and then she kept on studying law school at Florida State University. Finally, the dream came true. She became a lawyer, majoring in insurance defense. Nevertheless, Ciera was very family-oriented. I was astonished when I read that Kelly told Dateline that her daughter would spend even 5 to 6 hours on the phone with her dad, talking about how their lives were going. As we said previously, Ciera moved to the state of Georgia pursuing her career, and when there, she represented a man who had been dealing with some legal issues, Ciera Breland Jr. Some reports specified the couple met on Tinder. Either way, the two fell in love and tied the knot in 2020. In 2021, the newly married couple decided to move to Carmel, Indiana, because that's where Xavier's dad lived. Shelby Campbell, Ciera's cousin and best friend, said the couple had relocated to Indiana due to all the legal issues Xavier was having with his ex. Sticking to court records, Xavier was accused of allegedly placing a tracker inside the toy of his daughter, with the aim to control the child's mother, his ex-wife. The woman had a temporary protective order against him in 2021. However, he was then cleared of all of the charges in August 2022, according to WSB TV in Atlanta. The Northeast Georgian reported Ciera got pregnant in the spring of 2021, and that the two married via Zoom shortly after. The couple's son was born in October 2021. To be fair enough, she wasn't really satisfied about this move to Indiana. She was missing home. Georgia was her place, despite having even found a job there. The decision was made. Ciera couldn't stay too far from her parents too, so the Breland family, Xavier and Ciera with the couple's son, we are not going to reveal his name or age, made it to Cleveland, Georgia, and arrived at Ciera's parents' place on February 19, 2022. According to what Nick and Kelly told Deadline, Ciera arrived on Saturday and stayed until Sunday. Actually, Ciera and Xavier had plans to visit Xavier's mom, who lived in Johns Creek, Georgia, so they headed there. Moving a little forward in our timeline, we know that on Monday, February 21st, 2022, Nick Locklear, Ciera's dad, got a text from her daughter at 11:17 p.m. saying, "I'll be back in the morning if that's okay," to which he replied, "Of course it's okay, you don't have to ask." Red flag on the horizon. Yes, because the following day, on the 22nd, Ciera didn't turn up, and that's when Nick reached out to her, and she said that everything was fine, but that she was a little sick. Even Ciera's cousin and best friend tried to call her, but got no response. When February 23rd approached, Nick texted her again, But this time all contact ceased. No replies. Same story for Thursday, February 24th. Ciera was supposed to come back to Indiana, but at that point family members were not convinced she was with Xavier. Friday went by and the Locklayers were understandably concerned over the situation. It wasn't like Ciera to go quiet without reaching out to her family. On Saturday evening, on February 26th, an unknown call was placed to the Locklayers. What is known is that the number was from Indiana. This is what Nick told Dateline. So I answered it and they said it was the police. That's when they told me she was missing. How could Ciera be missing if she was due to come to her parents' place? Something didn't add up because the Locklayers thought she was still in Georgia. On February the 25th, sticking to the Carmel Police Department's official missing persons report, after 10 p.m., Ciera would have walked off to a nearby store. After leaving their home in the Brookstone Park of Carmel subdivision in Carmel, Indiana. She was reported to wear a black top and purple shirts, despite the chilly temperatures around the 20 degrees Fahrenheit. These shopping family members were told by police there was no surveillance footage of Ciera entering the store. According to police, Ciera Breland was last spotted on February the 21st in Johns Creek, Georgia. At that point, they placed a call to Xavier to have a grasp at what was going on. The response, so another call was placed, this time to Xavier's dad. When questioned by the Locklayers, he simply said he never saw Ciera. All Ciera belongings, including her credit card, ID, personal and work phone, and even her partner's phone, were all left behind. Something here is very off. A few days went by, and on March the 2nd, the Carmel Police Department released a press conference in Indiana. It was disclosed that Ciera Breland was reported missing on Saturday, February 26th. The same day, Nick got the unknown call, and the Carmel police detectives immediately began an investigation into the whereabouts of Mrs. Breland. The Carmel Police Department issued an alert for Ciera on their Facebook page. The fact Ciera was in constant contact with her family and that she was a mom with a toddler were elements of concern for investigators who were prompted to act quickly. Lieutenant College told Deadline, quote, "The biggest thing here is that she is a 31-year-old woman with a 5-month-old baby. It's not normal for her, according to her family. They talk to her all the time, or daily, and they are extremely concerned, as we are. We are taking it very seriously." Kelly told Deadline, "She was the sole mother, caregiver, everything to the child." The city of Johns Creek Police Department was trying to follow every possible lead, keeping under the radar people from both Georgia and Indiana. It didn't take long for investigators to make some development in the case. There was a person of interest in their radar. Both Carmel Police Department and Johns Creek Police Department had been working together in order to shrink their circle. Ciera's husband, 37-year-old Xavier Breland Jr., was identified as a person of interest. According to the above-mentioned press conference, Xavier was not criminally charged in relation to the case, but was arrested on an unrelated warrant. Breland was found not guilty in a stalking case in Coweta County earlier that month, involving his ex-wife, and released from prison on August the 16th. He was arrested on a new warrant the next day in Fulton County, and put back in jail once again with no bond. On March the 4th, 2022, both the FBI and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation joined the two agencies already involved in the alleged disappearance of Ciera Breland, sticking to an update released by the Carmel Police Department. In the meantime, Xavier was being held at the Hamilton County Jail in Indiana. For those wondering, the family dog and Ciera's son are in safe hands, taken care of by Ciera's parents, Nick and Kelly. Family members were hopeful someone saw the vehicle the Brelands were driving in the week following February the 20th, and come forward to investigators when and where that was. The couple was driving a white 2017 Volkswagen Tiguan. 1 month into Ciera's disappearance, the initial hopes family members had were starting to fade. Kelly Locklear said during an interview, "Every day it becomes solidified in your mind, that she's not definitely coming back ever, and that her son's never gonna see his mother, that we are never gonna see our daughter. Let's begin to dissect this story. What about Ciera and Xavier's relationship? Well, Ciera and her cousin Shelby Campbell had a very strong bond. In fact, the two would frequently talk about how their life was going, and Ciera had been opening up about her relationship with Xavier. It seems like all the drama started after the two had been on a few dates. Family members disclosed that issues in their relationship emerged already in June 2021 during their relocation. The situation got worse with time, escalating, and Ciera even feared for her own safety at a certain point. There was definitely something off about this relationship, and Shelby sensed it. She would tell her to leave her husband and tend to her toddler, but Ciera was in a delicate spot, being stuck in Indiana for work and being scared. Here's an extract of exchanging texts between Ciera and Shelby back in August 2021. If anything happens to me, then he's responsible. If I call and say it's an emergency or I text it, then call 911 in Carmel and tell them I'm at 40,466 Baldwin Lane, Carmel. Did you get this? To which Shelby replied, Got it. I'm really scared and I don't know what to do. What happened? I need to stay here because of work and stuff, but I literally think he might hurt me badly. I'm afraid to even sleep here because I'm scared if he comes in while I'm asleep. I'm gonna have Dad come for a bit and then I'll head home. Unquote. Guys, honestly, I leave you to make your own comments on this. By Shelby's account, Ciera would have called police several times both in Indiana and Georgia. By the time the police would get there, she would have calmed down enough to where she was lying for him. In other words, the police were in the know about the delicate and unsettling thing. If you thought this was enough, you were wrong. According to an Indianapolis news outlet, WVRTV.com, that reported Shelby's recount, Ciera's mom was contacted by an investigator who told her he knew Ciera was lying about what was happening when she called 911, so he was concerned that something was going to happen. On the flip side, Shelby didn't forget those specific tests where Ciera would express her fears, and she never thought this would be the next step. The Federal Bureau of Investigation was offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to Ciera's whereabouts. In the 2022 fall, Ciera's case was featured on the show Disappeared. Kelly said on Disappeared that she felt Xavier was manipulating her daughter, keeping her in a paranoid and afraid state for his own purposes. Unquote. Even Shelby Campbell spoke up during the show. She said that she knew there were physical altercations between the couple and explained Ciera had sent her pictures of these injuries in case they were needed later in a court proceeding. When Ciera paid a visit to her parents down in Georgia in February 2022, she confided in them that she was leaving her husband. In this regard, she was transferring some money into a secret account in light of a possible divorce, said Shelby Campbell. Family members thought she was waiting for the right moment to make this move. Back to our story. The Brelands headed to Xavier's mom along Highgate Manor Court in the Persons Walk subdivision in Johns Creek at 7:17 p.m. on February 23rd. She was last seen on surveillance at the doorway of the home. Some reports say on the 21st. A search warrant was issued for the home and the evidence was marshaled, said investigators. However, anything further has been disclosed. On top of that, during the search, also cadaver dogs were deployed in the surrounding area in order to catch possible bloodstains or signs of a struggle or any useful information, but the search didn't yield anything concrete at that point. A few days later, the young woman was reported missing by her husband Xavier, who said that after visiting his mom in Georgia, they returned to Indiana. Surveillance cameras provided a different story, though, according to the show Disappeared. On his way to Indiana, only Xavier was spotted exiting the car, getting gas and going to a store, without either his wife Ciera, his son and dog. Xavier's recollection of events is that the couple had a disagreement over the fact Ciera ran out of her Adderall medication, and when she asked Xavier for some, he refused to give it to her, so she would have allegedly left in anger at roughly 11 p.m. Guys, honestly, how likely would this scenario be for a caring mom and wife to leave all of her belongings behind to never come back again when temperatures were chilly at night? The family doesn't buy this version. It doesn't make sense to them. Prior to disappearing, Ciera had confided in her parents about her dire situation with Xavier, challenging to say the least, and expressed the scenario of a possible departure. Kelly said, "I encouraged her, and her father encouraged her to come home. We just wanted her to be out of the situation, but Ciera was 31 years old. I trusted her to know what to do." However, the fear of losing custody of her child in a possible custody arrangement with Xavier scared her. She couldn't deal with the thought of letting her son alone with her husband. She was cautiously apprehended. What about investigation? Neighborhoods and several surveillance cameras of people living in Johns Creek were marshaled and analyzed, and it turned out a car was captured driving, a car which matched Ciera's. Detective Eric Horzier, present during the show disappeared, couldn't provide any further detail into who was driving that car, being the case still active. The first version provided by Xavier said in stark contrast to the more recent one. During a video chat with his children, he would have informed them Ciera had been kidnapped. To be more specific, this was a jailhouse video dated in March 2022, obtained by investigators. In relation to these inconsistencies, Xavier's dad said, "He just creates a different story for everybody he's talking to," unquote. According to court documents, in 2005, Xavier was convicted of felony burglary in Marin County. That's not all, because just 4 days after Ciera was last seen in Georgia, on February the 28th, police were called to Breland's place in the 14,000 block of Baldwin Lane in Carmel on a report of an accidental discharge of a firearm. By Xavier's account, he was moving a Christmas tree in the garage when he heard a gunshot and ran. He then made his way to the garage and unloaded the firearm. A semi-automatic handgun was found by police in the garage, and the day before, a search warrant was served at the home in connection with the disappearance of Ciera Breland. 2 other guns were found. According to investigators, while conducting the search, the tree was moved, and a gun was not located in the area at the time. In July 2024, he was found guilty of an unlawful possession of a firearm in connection with a shot being fired at his Carmel home, according to court documents. He was sentenced to 12 years in the Indiana Department of Correction. It seems like he's planning to appeal the charges. Xavier's attorney Brian Howard spoke up to WVSB-TV about his client's innocence. "He's cooperated with police," he said. "He's made statements to the police and tried to help them in any way possible." Lieutenant Eric Rozier affirmed Xavier is still considered a person of interest in the case. Ciera's family members are adamant that Xavier knows more than what is letting on. In other words, he remains the sole source that might provide real answers for them and bring final closure after 3 long and painful years. Needless to say, the case remains open. A debt of an effort has been invested into actively looking for Ciera Breland. Lieutenant Eric Rozier of the Johns Creek Police Department in Georgia said he does not have any new updates or active investigative leads to share with the public. It's important to keep this story alive because information from the public is often a way for cold cases to break, Lieutenant Rozier said in an email to Andy Starr. Ciera Breland was 31 years old, 5 feet tall, and 120 pounds with blonde hair when she went missing. That's the end of this episode, guys. What are your opinions on this specific case? Let me know down in the comment section. See you in the next episode, and until then, stay safe and aware.